36 degrees north. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. How's the music, eh? Everyone enjoying that? Got to thank Mai. She's put all this together, as always. She's not only the singer, she's the coordinator of the event. A wonderful man in a colourful character from various areas around the world. He's grown up in Australia on a sheep farm. He's travelled the world taking guests from one country to another to obscure ski resorts and turned them into amazing journeys and of travel and adventure and skiing and enlightenment, I suppose you could say. He's a former stuntman for James Bond movies and he's got some great yarns and on top of that he's a wonderful man with a very fine touch of the guitar. I'd like to introduce John Falkiner. Please over here, my friend. Good evening. Welcome, John.
Hello, hello. Are we allowed to sit down?
Please sit down. So, John, thank you for coming, firstly.
It is an absolute pleasure to be here, Donna.
I met John a number of years ago through another absolute legend in Stephen Lee, who I'm not sure where he is, but he should be here. And through John, I've been fortunate to be, or privileged to be a part of a number of great adventures with yourself. But on top of that, your life reads like a Wilbur Smith book. And, you know, I mentioned about the mountain guiding and climbing and James Bond movies, but why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? You grew up in New South Wales on a sheep farm, started skiing when you were 5 years old.
Donna, you've said it all. There we go. I was always told that it's good to be brief. No, I was born in the town of Deniliquin, for any of the Australians here, in the Riverina, and born on a sheep farm, a very large sheep farm with a lot of land, about 300,000 acres, 75,000 sheep. So we could dress half of the population with the wool that we produced. And then my father was a skier as well. He began skiing before the Second World War, and found that as a passion. He learnt to ski in Europe, and then the Second World War got in the way, and then he came back to Australia when the skiing was just started. And I was very jealous when I was a little boy that they'd keep going away and leaving me behind. And finally, when I was 5 years old, he said, right, you can come skiing. And that was the beginning of the end.
5 years old to where we are today, there's been
65 this year.
Which is fantastic in itself. I mean, I know what you do for a living, and to be 45 is amazing. To be 65 and leading these people around like you do, I'm not that far behind you, and I know how hard it is. But with the history you've got, and I touched on the James Bond movies, and before that, from 5 years to I suppose in your early 20s, you were travelling the world, bit of a ski bum.
Absolutely, yeah. After doing, like most kids in Australia, I was skiing a week and a weekend each year, was what I got. And then when I left school, I left school a little bit prematurely. I kind of lost interest through various reasons that I won't go into.
As we all do.
And so I went to the mountains, and I worked at Mount Buller. For some of you may know where that is. And I was working in what was then called Karura, which apparently has just been demolished.
In the fires?
I was involved with the whole mountain society, and I'd known everybody there since I was 5 years old. So it was really very like a family back then, and an amazing place to be. And during that season that I worked there, I met a bunch of people who said, well, why don't you come to Europe? But I had no money. So I got a ship jet ticket for $300 one way to Europe. And I arrived there. I think I had about $700 or $800, and it took me 2.5 years to earn enough money to be able to come back to Australia. But it was great. You know, I washed dishes, I cleaned toilets, I made beds, I did snow shoveling on the roofs. I did just about anything you could do as long as I got my skiing in. And that was the whole goal. Everything was kind of like just to facilitate the skiing. And during that time, I met a lot of influential people. There was the birth of what they called hot dogging or freestyle was happening at that time. And there was all this new stuff going on. Stephen Lee, for example, went down the slalom road, and I went the other way. I was doing somersaults and all of that stuff at the beginning of sort of what has now evolved into freeride. And there wasn't that many people doing it, so there was lots of opportunities if you're enthusiastic. And I don't know whether I always had a lot of talent, but I always had a lot of enthusiasm, and I was in the right place at the right time, and things just lined up. And that got me into being a member of a demonstration team, traveling around Europe, doing somersaults, hucking my meat, and getting paid for it, which was just amazing. And I couldn't believe it. A country boy from Deniliquin, flat as a pancake, going to the mountains. And then that evolved into doing films. And the films started off as being ski movies, some little underground films at the beginning, and then little by little I began to get involved with some bigger names in skiing, and one of them was Willie Bogner, and Bogner was engaged to film the James Bond films. And one of my friends was doubling James Bond. He was the world freestyle champion, and he selected a group of skiers from the World Cup circuit at that time to come and do the stunts, because not a lot of stuntmen skied, and so they needed to get specialized people to do that. And we all knew how to jump, we knew how to fall. And so one film led into two, led into three films, being involved with the Bond films. And then there was a whole lot of other films I did over the years, perhaps 80 different films. Wow. From documentaries to kind of Hollywood-style films, coordinating stuntman and cameraman. And it was absolutely fascinating.
Well, having watched all the Bond films, I can't remember the bad guy coming out of it cleanly. I know you had a bit of an accident in one of them, and did you knee in?
Well, that wasn't during the Bond film. That was working for Bogner on a film called Fire Ice and Dynamite. And I was testing a jump, and I had the wrong skis on. I had a pair of Super G skis on, and I should have had a pair of jumping skis on. And I went in and I stalled out, and I tore all the the ligaments in my knees. So that put an end to my stunt career. I was 35 years old. I thought it was pretty good. I'd never hurt myself till then. The doctors said, well, we don't think you're going to ski again anymore. And I sort of said, what do you mean I'm not going to ski? I don't think you quite understand. But they said, well, if you're not going to ski like you did, and I said, okay, I can accept that. But it was quite a long way to, I'd been quite high on a pedestal, just getting this amazing work. And then suddenly I had to recreate my skiing career. And I was already a ski instructor. I'd been a race coach and a ski instructor. And my interest had evolved over the years into mountaineering, ski mountaineering and rock climbing and alpine climbing. And so I put all my focus and all my frustrated energy into doing that and decided to become a mountain guide with the encouragement of some of my mountain guide friends. They said, well, look, you're already traveling, you're already taking people to unusual places, get the qualification. And so I put about 7 years of work into becoming a mountain guide.
Which led you to the accreditation you got in the Swiss qualification?
No, what I've got, I have there's the UIAGM, which is the Union International of Mountain Guides. And it's a body that was started in Europe with the Swiss, the French, the Austrians, the Italians, and the Germans were the founding 5 members. And then they created a standard required to become a mountain guide. You had to have a certain level in skiing, climbing, alpine stuff, you know, all the alpine disciplines, and that was they made this requirement level, and if you were qualified within that area, it meant that you could work in any of the member countries without having have to go through any further hoops. It was an internationally recognized qualification.
So that led you then to guiding into climbing, but also into your, I suppose, your snow ski touring, which has now evolved into such a diverse amount of countries that you travel to, and you seem to be always finding new locations that people are not necessarily aware of, or even ski countries.
I've always been a little bit of a nomad, and loved traveling and loved the different cultures that have come around. And the skiing was a great vehicle to take people, and from working as a guide. And I'd been, during the years that I was sponsored, I was taken on a lot of expeditions. I went to different places. I went to Kazakhstan. I went to Russia. I went to the Himalayas, doing various alpine climbing type of expeditions. And some of those places that I'd gone while I was sponsored without clients really piqued my interest, and I wanted to go back again and explore more. So once I got my qualification, I began to take people. I took them to the Himalayas, I took them to Lebanon, I took them to Russia, north of the Arctic Circle in Iceland, where you came with me, to Norway, and you know, there's so many places. This year I was in Kazakhstan in November skiing, taking a group of people there, which was really just a fascinating place to go, not just for the skiing, but for the cultural. The cultural is fascinating. You've got such an amazing mix of people who live there, and the mountains are absolutely wonderful.
Well, only from my personal experience with you in Japan and Iceland, you do seem to have an uncanny ability to sniff out things that no one else seems to be able to see. A good line, or a great country, or a great mountain. You just seem to have this ability to zone in on it, and then everyone follows you up a hill and comes down on a beautiful line that no one even knew existed. Is that something you could train, or you've inherited that?
I think I think that a lot of time spent in the mountains, you develop a certain amount of skills. Much as I love being here in Hakuba, I find it really difficult because there's a lot of people. So you're squeezed into lines that perhaps you wouldn't normally want to ski. A lot of the places that I go, there's nobody. So I get to the top of the mountain and I can choose any line I want. And that gives me the option also to choose the absolutely safest lines, which as a mountain guide is really nice, because you're responsible for looking after people. And in the more crowded areas, you're forced to take lines that maybe aren't your first choice. And then you get a season like this, which is thin to say the least. You're squeezed even more, so it's quite difficult.
Yeah, the skill of the guide is paramount for the safety, but the enjoyment level, I've been with you, fortunately, in a guiding situation where the customers have skied down with the lead guide, and being able to just keep an eye on you is always fun, because you always seem to find something that wasn't seen before. That is sort of like your antennas seem to me to be always up, and you're always aware. You've always got a sixth sense of where you are. You know where to go, and if it doesn't work, you know how to get out of there.
You'd like to think so.
You're bluffing pretty good then.
Oh, mate, I know where the beginning is, I know where the end is, and what happens in between is always a little bit of a mystery.
I like that. The trip we did to Iceland still rates as probably one of the best trips I've ever done, and that was a discovery that you made a few years before and shared that with us, and I know everyone who was on that boat just absolutely adored every minute of it. So, you know, I'm sure the rest of your trips are very much the same.
Well, this year I began with Kazakhstan, which was, as I said, amazing, and then now I'm here. Or I went home. I live in the mountains right on the border of Switzerland, Italy, and France, and I skied this winter already in the three. I'm 1 hour from each place, so I can choose where I want to go and ski. And it's, you know, I wake up in the morning, look out of my bed, watch what the weather's doing, and I can decide if I'm going to Italy or I'll stay at home or I can go to France. It's not so bad. Once we, at the end of the month, I'm going to the Tohoku region in the northern part of Honshu, and I'm looking forward to going back up there. It's, you know, very few people, but it's all ski touring. There's no lifts.
Yeah.
Well, there are lifts, but I don't go there. And I like being immersed within the culture of this country because I just think that the people are wonderful, and I just, you know, I really love being there. And I'm incredibly embarrassed that I've got so little Japanese, but it's one of those things. I can't read the language, which was really, excuse me, pisses me off.
You speak a number of other languages, and it doesn't seem to put you off. But
Yeah.
the touring is an amazing, huge part of your life. The climbing in the summer, I presume this is just going to continue on until they're wheeling you into a nursing home. And
Well, I mean, I figure that, you know, as you get older, you find that certain things, your injuries and stuff, might prohibit certain things that you used to be able to do. But I think if you manage it well, you can manage to do. You can keep on being active within a lot of different parts of your life that you enjoy. But I think that, you know, I'm turning 65 this year. I'm having a great run. I'm able to ski. I'm able to climb. I'm able to do a lot of things. But there's certain things I'm doing less of now, partly because my body won't let me do them anymore.
and what would that be?
I mean, I've got various problems with my knees. So there's certain things I don't do. I don't like long walking down hills, for example.
Not a lot of skiers do.
Yeah, but I like walking uphill.
And you do that pretty well. The next sort of part of your personality and of your character is your music, which obviously is a very important part of your life. The skiing and the adventure and the history is all part of you, but I get the impression that music is a huge part of who John Falkiner is.
Well, I mean, I bought my first guitar in 1975, so that's before most of you were born. You know, maybe there's one or two who were born after that, you know. But I bought my first guitar in 75, and I've been playing guitar since I was probably about 15. Never very well, and but
I disagree.
But I always enjoyed it. I always enjoy it, and I'm just sort of a basic kind of thumper rhythm type guy, but I like singing as well. And if you get the right combination of alcohol amongst the listeners, so everybody drink a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know,
Drink up and you'll enjoy John singing.
you know,
You're getting older now.
you know, exactly. But if you, it's once again, it's enthusiasm, and I've really enjoyed it. And in the last number of years, I've always taken a little travel guitar with me wherever I go. So I play in the evenings, you know, just for myself a lot of the time, or once or twice a week I'll play wherever I am. And I'm staying at Steve's lodge at the moment, and the poor people have to listen to me every morning. But, you know, I enjoy it, you know, and evening.
Have you got Steve on the guitar again?
Yeah, a little bit. We're almost stringing up. He's got 3 guitars there, so
he's got
it's
a 12-string there.
I know, it's very
I found
good.
for him, and it's a beautiful
it's
guitar.
Very good, yeah.
But
But the music's evolving, and now in the last 3 or 4 years, as I have another mountain guide friend in Switzerland, and we play together, and we call ourselves Les Guides Perdus. And the Les Guides Perdus means the lost guides, because we're both qualified guides, and we're pretty confused and, you know, not sure about where we are. So we're the lost guides, and we play for anybody who'll listen.
it sounds like a good mix.
Yeah, good miss, yeah. Slip of the tongue. What was that?
Could have been the travelling wheelbarrows.
Yeah.
we're going to get John to play a few tunes. Moe's going to sing, but Moe, you got some questions on a musical level?
No, just I had a sort of rehearsal before starting that video. Then I'm so enough. Already I talked about the music.
I was here and they were talking about songs that they could potentially play together, and it's wonderful seeing two talents talking about what they can do together, combining the talent. So I think perhaps we'll get Moe and John to rattle out a little bit. We'll let John by himself.
Then first
jump in.
Then jump.
Let me warm up.
Okay.
Okay. So
everyone want to buy maybe drinks, maybe I think. So,
so
give it to them time.
buy another drink or two.
Now we have to provide it.
I just want to say on behalf of everyone, thank John for coming and sparing his time and telling us his story. I mean, anyone who's involved in the ski industry would have a huge appreciation for what John's achieved. And thank you very much, John. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you guys for listening. And thanks, Ed. Thank you, Donna.